This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about real estate realities, ridiculous rolling ladders, and the physics of hoisting. All that and more as we watch Season 5, Episode 21 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. I am cousin number 1. Joining me always is cousin number 2, who is actually my sibling. It's Sophia.
Hi. That sounds really weird.
I was doing like a
what
De La Soul thing.
What does that say about us if we're also cousins and also
cousins to siblings? I was trying to do like a plug 1, plug 2 De La Soul.
Okay, try again.
Cousin 1, like thing 1 and thing 2 from Dr. Seuss. Cousin 1 and cousin 2.
Sibling 1 and 2. Co-host 1 and co-host 2. Okay. Anyway, it's going all right. I'm so confused these days because I'm closing on a condo.
Oh, boy.
And I've never done real estate before, and everyone just keeps talking at me with these words, and I don't know what any of it means, and I just say, how much do I pay you?
Just give me a number, and I can write it down in my checkbook. Yes, well, look, this is going to be a very relatable episode for the both of us. You are recently being involved in real estate. Yes. I have done some house buying, and it's the worst thing ever as an adult you could do is looking to buy property. But that also is what's happening in this week's episode of Perfect Strangers, Season 5, Episode 21, titled This Old House.
This Old House also is a nod to a long-running PBS home improvement show called This Old House.
I love this show.
Which, of course, was originally hosted by the one, the only Bob Vila.
Bob Vila. Oh, my God. I do remember Bob Vila. So This Old House is still on PBS, and I'll watch it like Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
Then, you know, if you watch like TLC and Bravo, you see all these, and on Netflix, right? These house renovation shows. This is the OG. This is the original. It has been running that long. It's a wonderful program. Even before I bought a house, I would watch this show and be like, "Oh my God, that's how you fix the furnace. That's how you fix the thermostat. That's amazing."
Okay, so This Old House. If you were to open the TV guide that week, you would have read about this episode. Hoping to make a quick fortune, Larry buys a fixer-upper and goes to work renovating it, but then figures he can make more than a tidy profit.
I mean, is this early house flipping culture?
They had like the term beginning. House flipping.
Yeah, it is. It's pre-term, but I feel like people were kind of doing that. This is
what he's trying to do, I guess. Flip this house.
Huge trend. That's a TV show.
Yes.
Flip my house. Of course, starring our amazing cast, Bronson Pinchot as Belky Bartakamus, Mark Lynn Baker as Larry Appleton, Rebecca Arthur as Marianne, Melanie Wilson as Jennifer Lyons, and then a guest cast of some prospective buyers.
Yes.
Did you see that note from last week when we were like, what's Marianne's last name?
Oh, yeah, no.
Nicole Stoner did comment, and she said...
Maybe her name is Mary Ann.
Oh, maybe we've been reading it wrong.
Mary, first name Mary, last name Ann.
So, yes, Nicole Stoner, who is a great listener... and she comes in with the answer. And look, what were we just talking about? She starts by saying Javed sibling cousins. So look, I wasn't off with the cousin 1 and cousin 2. Sibling cousins. She says, I believe Mary Ann's last name is Spencer. I don't remember which episode confirmed this, but I absolutely could have sworn that it was mentioned at least once. Not sure if it helps, but I had to chime in. Yes, that absolutely helps. Yeah. Because even in the cast, it just says Mary Ann and there's like no last name. So maybe it's in a future episode where we haven't gotten to.
Maybe. I'm sure it's in some episode where there's an episode about her like brother or like, where she's like in the news and they think she killed someone before.
Oh my God. Really? We haven't gotten there yet.
A criminal or some kind of criminal.
I would imagine if her family shows up, we'd find out, but we only had Marianne's father show up.
It's coming.
Right? Okay. Anyways, original air date of this episode, March 30th, 1990. Oh, the 90s.
Oh, the 90s. And Perfect Strangers, of course, all 8 seasons are available for free to streaming on Amazon free V. Each episode just has one short commercial break, but in the middle, and it's generally a very enjoyable viewing experience.
Oh, it's like comfort food for your 80s
Just
nostalgia.
Thank you, Amazon Free
There to
V.
keep you warm.
This Old House, Act 1. We start, and guess how we open?
I love this random opening because what have we been complaining about in the past few
Where's
episodes?
Dimitri?
Where has this Dimitri the stuffed sheep been?
And so we open with an answer to that. Balki's at the kitchen table, the dining table with Dimitri, and Balki has a spray bottle and a brush, and he sprays Dimitri, and we find out where Dimitri's been. He says, I know you don't like bats, but if you insist on crawling behind the refrigerator, I have no choice.
Dimitri fell behind the refrigerator.
And he starts scrubbing him with a brush.
Do you think that Balki sees Dimitri like Calvin sees Hobbes?
Maybe.
Like it's alive to him, but then when everybody else is around, it's just the stuff that. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
He crawled away. Oh my God. And he's got like he's going to brush Dimitri. Anyways, Dimitri's getting a cleaning. Yeah. It's wonderful. Is that Febreze? What are you using there?
That was way before Febreze was invented.
Suddenly, the door bursts open and Larry Appleton excitedly rushes through the door with the plot of the episode, as he does, getting right to it. He goes, Balki, all our dreams have come true, as he sits right next to him. And Balki gets excited and turns and looks at him and goes, Suzanne Summers is coming back to primetime? You know Suzanne Summers. I wonder if the listener knows who Suzanne Summers is.
Suzanne Summers played Chrissy on Three's Company.
It's hilarious. One of my favorite
70s
shows.
Sitcom.
Yeah, 70s and 80s.
70s and 80s
Had a spin-off called Three's a Crowd. Not as good.
Oh, yeah.
But then Chrissy was replaced by like two other thirds, right? But she was the original, and then she had the leg.
And she was kind of like a beauty queen model type woman. It's funny that they wrote that in because 2 seasons later, Suzanne Summers came back to television in the TGI, in a show that would later become on TGIF, Step by Step.
That's right.
It was about a merged step family.
Like a modern day Brady Bunch kind of thing.
It was like a modern family, but not that modern. Yes.
Yeah. Was this before? Was she doing Thigh Master commercials at this point?
I think she had been. No, I think she had been. Yeah. So it's funny, but they didn't know that then. But that they wrote that in.
She is coming back.
It's like The Simpsons. They predicted it.
And that's Balki's dream. As Larry goes, no, Balki, that's your dream. What he means is they are going to be rich. Oh boy.
And Balki says, cousin, I'd love to be rich, but don't that require money? I love that. Such a simple analysis.
And Larry's like, no, you don't understand. We're going to be rich, but first we are going to buy a house. And Balki's still excited. I'd love to buy a house, he says. But again, don't we have that same pesky money problem? Yes, you need money.
So then we hear the backstory. Larry has just come from a seminar called Dare to Make a Fortune.
Every time he says it.
Dare to Make a Fortune.
Dare.
What kind of seminar was this? It showed people how to buy a house for no money down. And Larry thought it was brilliant. And he goes, I have a plan. And Balki says, oh God.
Oh boy, this is not good. First of all, this is the second seminar. Remember he went to the other
anger management. Oh, assertiveness seminar. Yes.
These seminar kind of scammy things were huge in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. Because you couldn't do it online like they do now, and you get scammed a drop shipping course for $2,000.
So he announces he has a plan. Balki says, oh God. And then he gets up, and here's a break from what usually happens.
He says, great.
He tells Larry he's been keeping some notes on the plans he's had over the year, and he pulls out this big, like, Meek Posian decorated binder.
But it's phone book size.
Yeah, phone book size with, like, papers and all these papers.
It lands on the kitchen table.
All his notes on Larry's plans. Yes, and he thuds it onto the table.
He says he's been keeping notes. Balki has a running tally of all of Larry's plans.
And
this is amazing.
He opens to the first page, and he runs his finger down the page, and he says, 7 of your plans have cost me money.
Oh, boy.
13 of your plans have cost me pride and dignity. And 3 of them eventually required an ointment.
Ouch. An ointment. Oh, yes.
I thought he was going to say 3 of them nearly
almost
cost
killed him.
Yeah, almost killed us all.
But an ointment also, yes, lots of cuts and scrapes would Larry's plans. And Larry goes, okay, fine. If you don't want to dare to make a fortune, I guess that's up to you. And then Balky's like, well, thanks for letting me off the hook so easily. But he's not
does he? He's
No.
not. Then he switches to manipulation mode and he says, he tells Balky, if you want to reject a basic principle of the American way of life, Balky is so proud of his Americanness.
Yep.
I guess you can do that. And then this is funny too. This is really funny. Balky's like, can we just skip to the part where I give in? He's like, doesn't want to even do this anymore. And it speeds up the dialogue in the face of the show.
Speeds up the plot. We can just jump
Like,
through
I feel
everything.
like the writers are finally like, okay, this trope is getting old and doesn't make sense
just
in
call it
season
out.
5 anymore. Yeah.
It's funny.
So he's like, let's just skip because we're taking up all this time. Larry says, here's the plan. We buy a house. We get the owner to carry back paper. We don't need money because the seller takes a second, reimburses the buyer for the amount of the down. You understand? And I swear to God, this is how it all sounds to me when the real estate and the mortgage people and the lawyers and the HOA, everyone's talking to me. And I'm like, it's
gibberish.
What?
Well, you take the interest rate of the escrow down and we're going to double it over and just make sure you close with the white. With the points, and Balky has the same thought we had that says, I got everything except the part that came after, all right, partner, which meaning nothing. And Larry's like, I'll guide you through it. Don't worry. Trust me. He's like, after we buy a house for no money, we fix it up a little, and then we sell it. We use the profits to buy a better house. Then we sell that house for an even bigger profit, and so on. So what do you say, Balky? Shall we dare to make a fortune?
He still hasn't explained, though, how he's going to buy a house for no money.
Oh, yes. This doesn't make any sense. Sounds shady.
And Balky says, why not? They just had Balky give in just to speed things up and because it's getting old, right? Yeah. He's like, why not? He says, I went to the park today and some kid dared me to eat a bug. I got through that, which is a weird line.
And then he licks it. Yeah. He licks his teeth with his tongue.
He has bugs.
He's got a little antlers left in there.
Then we cut to an establishing shot outdoor of this really big.
It is huge.
Sort of
Victorian style
home.
This is a mansion.
It looks like a dark mansion. And in fact, if anybody among our older viewers recognizes this house, that's because it was the house exterior used for in Mork and Mindy, for the house that Mork and Mindy lived in.
Wow.
And this house is in Boulder, Colorado.
So they just reused the same shot probably from that show.
Probably.
This is the Mork and Mindy house. I forgot. I know they worked in that store.
Yeah, and I don't remember. Yeah.
I love that show. Anyways, we cut inside and Larry's there with some paint swatch samples holding it up against
everything's
the wall.
Covered up.
Yes, there's tarps and buckets and this is it's going to need some work. This is a big house because you see like a staircase leading up,
huge,
some steps coming down to the main floor.
The entry hall is very high.
Yeah, big set.
Feels like a big house. And Larry's considering different shades of white paint for the wall. He's like white, eggshell, cream.
It's all white. It's all the same white, Larry.
And then we hear Balky's voice from upstairs off screen. This got a laugh, but I didn't really understand why. He says, Marianne, check out these floors. They're peg and groove. And I looked up peg and groove and it's a type of flooring, but peg and groove got a laugh. So I don't know if it was something about the way he said it or if there was some other meaning there.
Because I thought it was tongue and groove. It used to be called. Maybe peg and groove is newer. When was that? When was that invented? Did that exist?
A style of flooring characterized by the wooden pegs that are installed at the end of each plank.
I don't know why the audience laughed. Maybe they pumped in some nitrous oxide into the thing just to
I think we're just missing a joke. Anyways, it happens. Yeah. We're human too.
Balky comes down by himself with a broom, old school broom. And Larry's like, Balky, what do you think of cream?
He says cream. What do you think of cream?
What do you think of cream?
And Balky thinks and he says, oh, the greatest center in the history of basketball.
It's a great basketball joke. Of course, Larry goes, not Kareem, Cream. Of course, he's talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's still around. He writes like tons of columns and stuff.
He does.
Very opinionated. Larry goes, cream, C-R-E-A-M. And Belky goes, oh, cream. I feel like an idiot. I think Cream was one of the best groups in the history of rock and roll.
It sure was.
And he starts playing air guitar, playing Sunshine of Your Love, right?
Yeah.
I like that Balky knows his classic rock. He is right about that.
Cream, of course, was a British rock band formed in London in 1966. The group included Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker.
His first band.
In 1993, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and have been named on many greatest artists of all time lists.
And then, of course, Eric Clapton goes on to just be the best guitar player ever and have an incredible career. Then Jennifer and Marianne come down
and
the
they're
stairs.
in their work uniforms. They're about to get on a flight.
Attendant uniforms. And they are impressed with how big and beautiful the house is.
And then, and they're saying all these, Jennifer's like, this house is so beautiful. And Marianne says, yeah, and it's so big. Uh-huh. And the scene goes on, but rumor has it that during the filming, when they were filming this, Bronson Pinchot kept breaking at that line.
Because it's so big.
And I think at one point the blooper used to exist somewhere on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's still around. But yeah, anyway, that was way before That's What She Said era. So
that was in The Office.
So, but what he does say is, tell me something I do know, which is funny because the expression is tell me something I don't know.
That's the saying.
And he tells everyone that house is as nice as the palace of the king of Mypos, only instead of a stairway coming down from the bedroom, His Serene Highness has a water slide. And then he starts to ask Larry if they could put in a water slide. And Larry says no. But also no major remodeling. His plan is just to clean the place up, put on a new coat of paint, and turn it over for a quick profit and move on to the next house.
I mean, that's not a bad plan.
And Jennifer's actually almost impressed with Larry's work. Yeah. She says, that's great. Who are you going to hire to do the work? And then Larry says he almost had her impressed. Then he says, we're going to do it ourselves.
You just see the look on the girls' faces.
They're just like, oh.
Jennifer goes,
And Larry calls him out. He's like, he could tell that they're doubting them. And he says, Balky and I know what we're doing. We don't need any professional help. And Jennifer tries to be nice. She's like, okay, you'll probably do a great job. And then Marianne's like, want to bet?
She don't trust them. I'm with Marianne.
And then they rush off to work so they don't miss their flight. And as they're leaving, Jennifer and Larry kind of kiss goodbye. And then Balky kisses Marianne on both cheeks and then starts sweeping her feet with the broom. And she starts giggling and she goes, you're sweeping me off my feet again.
It's so cute.
Which is just a silly gag.
He's like, get out of here. Get out. Come on, get out.
They were very cute.
They're so adorable together. Larry and Jennifer have no such chemistry.
No.
At all. And then the girls leave and we get into our first little physical comedy bit. Look, they bought a house. You know there's going to be a lot of physical comedy and some destruction coming in this episode. And we get a classic ladder on the shoulder spinning around, nearly missing by coincidence.
Nearly missing, smacking people in the face.
From both parties, right?
Yeah.
First, Larry picks up the ladder and holds it in the middle, puts it over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And Balky is standing next to him, and he's wondering if maybe they should have hired professional help. And Larry goes, nonsense. A professional will cost us money. We're here to make a fortune.
It's all about the money for Larry.
That's the bottom line, of course.
Yeah.
He wants to make as much money. So right then, Balky bends down to grab the bucket, and Larry spins the ladder, just barely missing his head as he turns away from it. And then he turns around and he goes to Balky, oh, you want to grab that drop cloth? And Balky bends down again and Larry spins it back.
Again.
Just
also,
over his head.
Very nice choreography here.
Yes. And then Larry's like, oh, give me that drop cloth. You take this ladder. And he gives Balky the ladder as he puts it on his shoulder. And Larry goes for that bucket. Balky spins right around, missing his head again.
But then he keeps going to the other side and Larry catches it with his hand. He's like, oh, be careful. A ladder is not a toy.
There is a lot of spinning of ladders,
Yeah.
like without any kind of awareness of self. And he says the ladder is not a toy.
The
Bucky's
final
like,
beat,
"You're
the
right."
button is Balky's like, oh, thank you. You're right. And then they both turn around with Balky turns the ladder the other
they
way.
turn away from
and
each
it
other.
smacks
and of
Larry
course,
in the nose, the thing we've been waiting
whack.
for. Yes.
Right in the face. It's great. I mean, this is classic. Going back to probably like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy did it.
Lucille Ball
the
probably
Three
did this.
Stooges.
Everybody did
Everybody
this.
does
Classic.
this ladder bit. It's never not funny. It's comedy 101.
Yep. Okay. So then we cut to another establishing shot of the house, but this time there is a very obviously superimposed for sale by owner sign
There's
on
a
the fence.
phone number, 555-7011. We should call it. I wonder what area code that is.
Yeah.
Be like, you still selling that house? Call them up. 2 weeks have gone by, yes.
And the words 2 weeks later come up. So, so I'm sure they just had that one shot of that Colorado house.
Absolutely.
And they just have to put a for sale sign.
Yeah, maybe like two different angles from Mark and Mindy. Yeah. And they're like, we'll just plop. We've seen them do that before.
So then we cut to inside and Balky is polishing the stair banister with like some spray bottle and he's singing a song. He sings spritz, 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 rub, 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 and a couple of tra-la-las. That's how we shine the banister in this merry old house of ours.
Song alert. I did not know this song.
Alert.
I did not know what the song was.
The song is The Merry Old Land of Oz, which is
from Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. He just changed the lyrics, and we happen to know that Bronson Pinchot loves Wizard of Oz and used to try to put references in.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of them in here. Okay, that's cute. I like that they did that.
Yes. I don't remember that song, though. From Wizard.
I don't remember it either. Anyways, Larry's there, and he's all rushed, and he looks at the front door, and he says a car just pulled up. He goes, we're going to have this house sold by lunch. And there's a knock on the door. It opens. A man and a woman come in. They introduce themselves. This is Elliot and his wife, Hope.
And then the audience laughs.
Why?
And now this is a little relevant to the time. Even I didn't understand this. Okay. This was kind of an insidery joke. Elliot and Hope were characters on an ABC drama series called 30-something that was very popular.
Yeah.
Okay. Those were characters. And the actors here in this Perfect Strangers episode resemble the actors who played Elliot and Hope on 30-something. They kind of look like them. Although on 30-something, those characters were not a couple. They were not married to each other, but they just resembled those actors. So I guess when all of the audience knows about this show, 30-something, because it was very big, when they saw them and then heard them say their names, I'm Elliot and Hope, that's where the laugh came from.
I remember this show, but I didn't remember it aired this early, 1987 to 1991. I do remember 30-somethings being a kind of a groundbreaking popular show, but I thought it came later. Okay, all right. Oh, so the audience laughed because they look like the fake Elliot and Hope from 30-something. It's weird.
In fact, this actor on this show looked so much like the guy who played Elliot on 30-something that he played a faux Elliot on 30-something.
Okay.
So he just, anyway, the actors here, the guy's name is Michael Mitz. The guy who played Elliot on 30-something was Timothy Busfield, and Hope was Mel Harris on 30-something.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 30-something joke.
So the audience, like from the audience perspective, they walk on and they're like, oh, they kind of look like those guys from 30-something, and then you hear them say, I'm Elliot and this is Hope, and they laugh.
Okay. That's not the first time this is going to happen also.
Yes.
There's another time.
There's another time.
Weirder names.
Yes.
Not that these are weird names. Anyways, they
introduce themselves, and Elliot asks how much they want for the house. And are you ready for this? This giant mansion house in 1990. Larry says $150,000.
Get out of the city.
That is so cheap for a house that big. It's unbelievable. That house easily would go for like $500,000, $600,000, maybe even $1 million.
Oh, definitely $1 million.
Depending on some of the upgrades inside. It's a very big house, but maybe like $600,000 to $1 million.
And so
it's a
Larry
deal
says
right there.
$150,000. And then Balky goes, unless you went to the Dare to Make a Fortune seminar, in which case you know how to get a house for free.
Oh, boy.
And Larry kind of smacks him and he goes, forgive him. He's from an Eastern Bloc country. They're all in a state of confusion. First of all, I don't think Mypos would have been an Eastern Bloc country.
Eastern Bloc country?
Eastern Bloc was like the Soviet Europe, right? Like,
Okay.
That's my understanding. I don't
East
think
side of Europe.
Mypos was a Mediterranean island. I don't think it would. But anyway, I think that this line in 1990 had relevance to what was going on in the world and how Americans were viewing the nearly finished Soviet Union.
It was a mess over there once it broke up, right? It would have been right after the...
no, this was just before.
Oh, when did it
This
happen?
is 1990.
That happened in 92? 91?
Yeah.
The fall of
91.
communism happened in 91.
Yeah, so it was leading up to
Okay.
it. Definitely there was stuff in the news probably.
Yeah.
So they're all in a state of confusion. Anyway. So Larry tells the couple to look around and they step away. And then we're left with Larry and Balky. And Larry's pissed at Balky. He's like, what's the matter? They're going to buy this house. If you'll keep your mouth shut, we could be on our way to being filthy rich. And then the couple kind of come back into the main room and we hear them say, this house is exactly like the one we saw down the street. I like the other house better than this one. And then Larry pipes in ready for this. He goes, you mean the one they built on top of the old cemetery?
You know what movie plot that is?
Beetlejuice?
No. Poltergeist.
Oh, Poltergeist.
That's what happens in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
They moved the graves, but not the bodies.
What
they
year
built
was
the house.
Poltergeist?
That
80
was
something?
late 80s, yeah.
Okay.
But that's the plot to Poltergeist, essentially. So Elliot excuses him and his wife aside, and he tries to reason with her. He goes, honey, the only difference is the other house has new doors and a fancy chandelier in the entry, and they're asking $20,000 more than these guys want for this place. So in the background, you notice Balky and Larry doing the Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal lean to the side as they're eavesdropping, and they look back, and then they lean back forward. And then the husband goes, I think we should snap this place up before somebody else buys it, as the cousins lean back in, and the wife, Hope, is in agreement.
She's like, let's do it.
And the cousins lean back as they turn, and they go, okay, we'll take the house. And Balky is super excited because, yes, cousin, we sold a house.
Now we're so happy. We do the dance of joy. And he starts doing the dance of joy, but Larry walks away from him toward the couple. And then Balky's very frustrated with this. He comes away. He's like, cousin, Mama told me never to do the dance of joy alone or I would go blind.
Okay, there's a bunch of things right there going on.
So one is another popular activity that some young men engage with that could cause you to go blind. And the old adage that moms always said, don't do that or you'll go blind.
The other thing is, didn't we already see a solo dance of joy in a previous episode?
Yes.
Even though Mama told him never to do it. Was he just not listening to his mama?
I think more than one previous episode.
Is the mythology getting diluted?
Yeah.
What happened?
We're expected to have forgotten because it was the 1980s and 90s.
Yeah, and nobody was binging through these like we are. Anyways, a little inconsistency in continuity.
Larry, though, suddenly says, Balky's excited they're about to sell the house. Larry's like, nope, the house is not for sale.
What are you doing, Larry?
Because Larry has heard what they said. He heard that the house up the street is asking $20,000 more just for a couple of upgrades, and he changed his mind. And and everyone's like, what are you talking about? You just said it was for sale. And Larry's like, yes, but I was born in this house, and so were my parents. And all my close friends.
They're all part of the house.
The memories just came rushing back and it's not for sale. And he ushers them out the door. He's like, I hope you find something else. And the guy's like, but I like this house. I want to buy this house. He's like, nope, nice to meet you. And he pushes them out the door. And Balky's confused. He says, I thought you were born in Madison, Wisconsin. And Larry's like, I was. And he's like, and they moved this house all the way from Wisconsin? And Larry just looks at him and goes, yes.
But then he says what you said to Balky. He goes, didn't you just hear what those people said? If we put in some new doors, some fixtures, and a chandelier, we could get an extra $20,000 for this place. Greedy Larry has now come out all of a sudden.
Balky's like, wait a minute. You weren't born in this house. And I bet not even half of your friends were born in this house.
That's great.
You just want to make more money. And Larry's like, yes. And we just need to do a little remodeling and we're going to make more money. He says, Balky, I have a plan. And Balky this time just like looks up to upward and mouths, oh,
yeah, he does
God.
a silent, oh, God, while looking at God.
He says, we are going to dare to make a bigger fortune. And Balky goes, and me with no ointment, which I thought was like a very nice callback.
Yeah.
And we fade to black. That's the end of Act 1.
He doesn't have any ointment for the cuts and scratches he's about to get.
Yes.
Listener, you can join this conversation. I don't know if you knew that, but we do have a awesome Facebook group. It's closed, exclusive, just for our listeners. You can join it. There's a link in the episode description. You're going to meet other Perfect Strangers fans, and you'll be able to comment on the episodes as I post a thread of every episode before we post it, so we can work in everyone's comments at the end of the show. Check it out. Click the link. Join today.
Okay, Act 2. It's a little bit in the future, and the cousins have found themselves a big, I guess, beautiful chandelier for that time. Enormous chandelier.
It's a very big chandelier.
It's got, yeah. It's very big. And they have it rigged up to this like rope pulley system to try to hoist it up to the ceiling in that high entryway.
They're wearing some fun work overalls.
Oh yeah, now they're in like
matchy.
body jumpsuits.
Yeah.
And Larry has on these bright white Nikes that are kind of cool looking for Larry. And he's like, okay, we're almost there. We just have to hang this and then we can sell the house, move on to the next one.
We're in the home stretch, he says, which he will say 2 more times. We're going to hear this phrase.
We're in the home stretch.
We're in the home stretch.
And Balky says, you're turning me into a believer. The house looks great and you got a good deal on this chandelier. And we find out, Larry says, life is funny. The Driscoll Hotel is condemned. Hundreds of people lose their jobs. Bad for them, good for us. They got this chandelier from a
closing hotel.
Condemned hotel.
What an opportunist.
Yes. And so they set up and prepare. They both get their arms on this rope on the other side of the pulley to hoist the thing up. And
it's time to hoist.
It's time to hoist. And they go they start pulling and it doesn't really move. It shakes a little but doesn't come off the floor.
Oh, and they're straining. You hear Balky making straining noises and it doesn't budge at all. And Balky's like, are we there yet? As he's pulling. And Larry's already just stopped pulling. He goes, no, it's not working.
And he says, we're using too much brawn and not enough brains. And he says, follow me. We need more leverage. And here comes more physical comedy. So then Larry sort of climbs up the outside of the banister of the stairs, the little bit that hangs out.
Like what you used to do when you were a kid, climb on the outside of the edge of the
stairs.
Yeah.
And Balky follows him and they grab the rope up higher from the stairs. And their plan is to grab onto it and jump off so that the weights of their body and gravity would give them more leverage to hoist the thing up. And they do that. Balky spits into his hands to get a grip. I don't even know if that's a real thing. Spitting into your hand to get a grip. They do it. They both kind of hug each other and grab this rope. And then they jump. Works. And it works. They get it off and
they go slowly down as the chandelier goes up into position. And I was like, oh my God, that actually worked.
Yeah, I think Larry's like, yep. And we do this couple more times, couple more jumps, and we'll get it all the way up. I don't know the mechanics of that because someone would have to hold it where it was.
You got to tie it down somehow while you're holding it.
And then untie it while you're at the top of the stairs.
I don't think he thought that far ahead.
Yeah.
Clearly.
How do you keep the leverage on it while you're climbing the stairs?
Yeah, somebody has to be there, but then how do you both get back up there? But before we can find out, we hear some tinkly bell music floating in from outside, and Balky gets very excited.
It's the ice cream truck, and he lets go of the rope and runs outside, and then the weight of the chandelier wins, and you just see Larry holding onto the rope,
go back up,
and he's hanging from the rope
down.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And he's like, Balky.
He's dangling there.
He's just hanging.
Balky runs in without any ice cream and just goes, sorry, cousin. What happened? You didn't get any ice cream? We turned around before the truck not stop.
So at this point, we have a lot of questions about how they're, even though they showed us, we still don't know how they're going to get it all the way up, but it doesn't matter because we cut to the next scene and the chandelier is installed on the high ceiling.
They got it up there. There's a huge ladder that Larry is
very
on,
tall ladder, yes.
on wheels, and Larry is replacing light bulbs
in the chandelier.
As he's kind of like spinning and replacing the light bulbs. And then again he goes, well, Balky, we're in the home stretch. All we have to do is finish putting in these light bulbs and we can sell this baby and move on to our next house. That's like the second time he said that.
And Balky is like really impressed, actually, that something's working. And he says, we're going to have to start a new category for your plans that work.
He needs another book.
Burn.
Smaller chapter.
Yes.
So Balky has now climbed up with some light bulbs to the top of the ladder to help Larry.
And when he says plans that work, he like laughs at his joke and slaps Larry, like instead of slapping his own knee. And Larry kind of like almost loses balance, but he catches himself and he's like, oh,
careful.
Be careful.
Careful. And then what happens? How does this happen?
I don't know. Then some chaos that is meant for television only happens.
Basically,
so they're putting in light bulbs.
Yeah.
Balky like stretches out to reach like a socket that's far away from him on the chandelier.
The bottom part of the chandelier.
And suddenly, to me, it looks like he jumped, but I guess the story is what had happened was
what had happened was
he loses his balance from the ladder, and then he grabs onto the chandelier.
Larry
the
also
bottom of the
leaps and grabs the chandelier at the same time.
Then apparently the story is that that causes Larry to lose his balance, and he grabs onto the chandelier, and they're both hanging from the chandelier, which is spinning. And then they're like, oh no. Because they're like kind of high up off the ground, but not really. They could have just jumped down. But they're stuck hanging, and then Larry's like, get the ladder, get the ladder. Of course, they try to get the ladder with their legs, and of course, what happens? The ladder, for some reason, is on wheels. That doesn't seem safe to me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. Who's holding this ladder down?
But the ladder, they instead of catching it, they push it away, and it rolls away from them.
He pushes it away.
And they're left spinning and hanging from this chandelier.
And Larry is just giving Balky this dirty look as they're spinning and laughing.
And hanging.
Now, look, this is like, you see this set, it's pretty high ceilings. It looked like they could have just dropped down.
Or like swung over to the staircase. Yeah.
But what happens? Well, we get another outside shot of the house, meaning time has passed. And we see the inside, and it's empty, and the camera slowly pans up, and they are now both sitting in the ladder. They have climbed.
In the chandelier.
In the chandelier, not the ladder. The chandelier, meaning they were hanging. They had to pull themselves up.
Like a muscle up into this chandelier.
Muscle up like a gymnast, climb and sit, which is way harder than if they just
dropping.
Let go.
Yeah.
Yes. And how in the chandelier, they must have done a great job installing it into the ceiling.
Because they're holding. It is holding. They're both sitting inside the chandelier.
It's like 300
Like the chandelier is like a little cage around them.
Yeah, it's just holding it fine. Yeah, it's a little cage. And they're both, apparently there's seats up there.
There's seats. Yeah, they're sitting comfortably.
So they are in the chandelier now, and it's a funny visual as it's revealed.
So they're sitting up there as if they've been sitting for a while. And then we hear Balky say, well, cousin, we're in the home stretch.
Yes.
Larry's words. All we have to do is find a way to get down from here, and then we can sell this baby and move on to the next house.
That's funny.
He says, I don't suppose you went to a seminar on how to get out of a light fixture.
Funny.
Also funny.
Two good birds.
And he goes,
right
where
there.
do I come up with them? And he like shakes the chandelier, and then he like gets nervous.
Yes, because they got to fall.
And Larry's like, it's fine. It'll be fine. It's not like we're the first guys to get stuck in a chandelier.
I mean, they might
Is that a nod to
I don't know.
Abbott and Costello or some? Was there another chandelier?
I feel like I've seen.
I feel like this is
like this.
This is probably a knockoff gag.
But you can also take it as like, no, you guys are the first guys to be like this doesn't happen. So I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Balky is up there trying to bring some sense to Larry. He goes, cousin, let's be honest. Jennifer was right. We should have hired professional help. I mean, cleaning and painting were easy, but now we're in over our heads. In fact, I think we're in over most people's heads. Height joke. And then he does the same thing and laughs at a joke and slaps his knee and then slaps Larry on the back, and then everything shakes and they're like, oh.
And then Larry, not thinking, just lets himself say, we didn't have time. We're racing against the clock. We got to sell this house within the next 10 days.
What?
What?
Wait a minute. What? This was not
says,
mentioned.
Why are we in such a hurry?
Good question.
He says, I was hoping to join the Neighborhood Watch and take a bite out of crime. Okay, take a bite out of crime. Where do we know that from?
McGruff the crime dog.
Yes.
Help take a bite out of crime. I remember those commercials.
McGruff the crime dog was the spokes dog for the National Crime Prevention Council.
I wonder.
He's been around since 1980.
Did he do any good? Did he help raise the awareness of crime prevention in children?
I don't know. That was the
I'm not
point,
sure.
but
Because
he was like a puppet dog, right?
It was a cartoon dog, but they had a live action one. But like, what do you want the kids to do? Take a bite out of it?
They had a live action dog?
No, he had like a dog mask.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was a
like
dude in a trench coat and a hat. And it was like a big. But like, are they promoting kids to go out and just tackle criminals?
Bite criminals.
Bite? Like what are we going to do? Tell somebody?
You see someone robbing a bank, go and bite
if a kid tells a cop something, the cop's not going to listen to a kid.
Yeah.
None of this makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. But it was take a bite out of crime.
And DARE, the drug program.
Yes.
Very popular.
Okay. So.
Okay, what's going on?
Balky's like, why are we in such a hurry? And Larry confesses that there's another part that he didn't tell him about. Of the plan, and Balky's like, oh good, nothing good can come now.
Nothing good can follow that sentence.
And Larry says, yes, it's true, we bought the house for no money down, but they have a house payment due in 10 days. And Balky's like, how much is the house payment? And Larry says, $140,000.
$140,000 payment. What kind of a
And he's
what kind of a loan is this?
He says he got a 30-day loan.
Oh.
He thought that's all they needed.
Oh boy.
So if we back up, he could have easily made his money if he just took that first offer of $150,000.
He would have made 10 grand profit, which is a lot in
and
1990.
They put that to the next house. Yeah.
It was a done deal. This episode.
But he got
credits.
greedy.
No, he got greedy.
So there's a knock at the door. Jennifer and Marianne enter. They call around for Larry and Balky, and the guys kind of quietly say, we're up here. And then you see their faces slowly look up.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's kind of just like looking in disbelief, taking in like, why are they in the chandelier? Marianne just goes, hi guys, the house looks great.
It's perfectly normal.
They ask the girls to slide them the ladder. And then Jennifer says, okay, I owe you $20 to Marianne.
Jennifer had no faith in them.
So that's how they get down.
Okay,
the girls come and give them the ladder. So then we cut to, again, establishing a shot of the outside of the house. For sale by owner, superimposed. This time it says 10 days later.
Oh, their payment is due.
Their payment is due
imminently.
Like tomorrow,
they need
today.
To sell this place.
And when we go inside, it's like there's a couple already walking out of the house, and Larry's going after them. He's like, we can repaint if you don't like the color. I wanted to go with cream. And they're leaving just to show that they're not interested. And Larry calls them looky-loos.
Looky-loos.
And then we find out that they have not received a single offer and the payment is due. And he says, if we don't get at least $140,000 for this house, we'll be ruined.
Oof.
Balky has been like crunching numbers on a pad. He says, I agree, we're in debt up to our chandelier. But I figured it out. If we sell everything we own, we'll only be short $132,000.
Larry just starts instantly.
Larry starts crying.
I did it. He's like, Balky's like, cousin, I can see nothing's going to cheer you up. When a couple who's still looking at the house comes down as Larry is crying from the staircase, looking for the owners.
And Larry's like, I know, the color's wrong. The rooms are too small. Thanks for stopping by.
He's already written them off.
And the guy's like, no, we're interested in the house.
What?
And then Larry's like, what? You are? And then he says, we're the Hendersons. I'm Skitch, and this is my wife, Florence.
Okay.
And the audience laughs.
Okay, Skitch. First of all, Skitch Henderson.
So this was another
Florence
audience under recognition inside joke about names.
Yes.
Skitch Henderson was a famous piano player, conductor, and composer who worked for MGM.
Okay.
And then Florence Henderson.
We know Mrs. Brady.
Carol Brady from the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
They had nothing to do with each other in real life. Maybe they did, but nothing notable. They just used the names Henderson and then used other recognizable Henderson names. And the audience laughed.
But the
And
audience
they don't look
knows-
like them. Unlike the other couple, they don't look like them
Okay,
at
it's
all.
just random.
It's just names.
Florence Henderson, I get. The
Yeah.
audience really knows Skitch Henderson is.
I don't
in
know. Maybe
1990.
maybe
It's a very sophisticated crowd.
Skitch Henderson. I'm
Skitch
going to
Hen-
use that.
I think
in
the
something
name,
I write.
but I didn't think that was a real
Skitch
name.
Henderson.
It's really funny, Skitch Henderson.
So the audience laughed. So there's this weird thing about this episode. These two couples
Yeah.
with these names and giving them insider jokes. Anyway, and so they try to tell this couple that they have had several offers, and to just to make them more interested. And like if we had one more offer, it might help us to decide which offer to accept. Balky says, and so they ask Mr. Henderson, Skitch, asked
Skitch.
how much they're asking for the house. And now Larry says $170,000. He has increased it by $20,000.
Yeah, which is the
because of
plan.
the chandelier.
Yeah.
And the guy immediately counters with 120.
Oh, the negotiation is on. It's getting
And then
heated.
Balky gets excited, but then Larry like pinches his arm.
Bucky goes
to be like-
120,
Yeah.
and then Larry grabs his
Yeah.
arm really hard.
And then Larry tells Skitch, in some parts of the world, an offer that low would be considered an insult, and my associate would have to beat himself with a leather strap.
Oh, boy.
And he tells him the chandelier alone is worth $10,000.
Okay.
And you won't find another one like it anywhere. And then Balky goes, unless another hotel goes belly up. And then the guy
Skitch,
counters with the final offer of $140,000.
which is exactly the money they
that
need.
they need to break even and pay their
Not make any money
their
on it,
payment.
but break
Yeah.
even. Just then, Balky looks up at the chandelier, and we get to see a close-up shot of the top of the chandelier
Like the wiring that
pulling away from the ceiling, and it's dropped, and a wire has snapped.
we just see it drop once and
now,
a snapped wire.
and Balky shrieks, and this is not good now.
Yeah. So the guy says 140,000. Balky sees the chandelier fall. He goes, ah! And Larry's like, I know. I'm shocked at their offer too.
Balky-
100.
Larry
And
hasn't noticed.
he's trying to up the offer. He's still telling them that it's too low. And Balky's trying to tell him, cousin. And he's pointing upward with his finger. And Larry's like, I know he's going to come up.
He'll come up.
with the price.
Yeah.
And he tries to tell him that he's set on $170,000, non-negotiable. Balky's still trying to get Larry's attention to tell him that the chandelier is about to fall. And he's like, cousin. And Larry's like, no, I'm not coming down, Balky. Balky says, no, you're coming down. That's worrying me. And he pulls him aside and he says, the chandelier is falling. And Larry looks up and now we see it hanging by like one flimsy wire. And Larry gasps and gives us a good, oh my Lord.
It's a fantastic, oh my Lord.
Yes.
One of the best.
One of the ones you see coming and you're able to say it with him.
Yeah, you know he's going to say
you know
it.
he's about to say it.
So now Larry is very nervous, and he goes, Balky, we have to close this deal fast. And Balky's like, no. He's got some integrity. He goes, we cannot sell them a house with a falling chandelier. Larry at this point promises if they sell the house, he will hire a professional to fix the chandelier. And Balky's like, you promise? Larry says, I promise. And they go, okay. And they rush back to the couple. $140,000. You got yourself a house. He's shaking his hands. He's trying to usher them out.
And he's like, let's go to my car and sign the papers. And Balky's like, let's run to your car. And then,
try to get them out of there.
then just as they're about to like clear out from that area, Mrs. Henderson, Florence, if you will, she goes, wait, I've lost my contact lens.
Florence Henderson.
And she's going back to the floor under the chandelier, of course.
Was she like poking in her eye? How does
I
this
don't
happen?
know.
Remember they used to just fall out?
Yeah.
They just used to fall.
And then Balky and Larry sort of like hook under her arms, grab her and pick her up and
drag
lift her
to
up
the
the
door.
stairs.
It's great.
And Larry's like, no, free contact lenses come with the house. And she goes, I want my contact lens. And she tries to go back under the chandelier.
Like, no.
They're like, no, we'll find it. We'll look for it together. And they push them out of the way. They look up and sort of like pray. And then they like get down on their hands and he's real nervous, like crawling in circles. Ready, go. And they keep looking up occasionally and the chandelier is still up. And then like the music tension heightens because you don't know this thing might fall right on them. And then Larry finds it. He's like, I've got it. And he runs over to the side, gives it to them. And Skitch goes, is something wrong? And they're like, And Larry's like, no, everything's fine. Congratulations. You just bought a house for $140,000. And just then we see in slow motion that one wire breaks.
The last cord snaps.
And this giant, elaborate chandelier, we see it falling for a while, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how big this room is. There's been different angles throughout the episode. I don't know how high it is, but we see it fall, and then crash into the floor. And all these pieces of like metal and crystal.
The slow-mo reactions of the people are really funny. And glass apparently is going flying everywhere.
And then Larry's like, okay, $135,000.
Wait, he said it was worth $10,000. He should have said $130,000.
Yeah, that's true.
He's trying to still kind of get a little bit of money. Anyways, wow. Did they end up selling this house? What's going to happen?
So we cut to the next scene, which we're back at their apartment, and they're sitting off in the chairs by the fireplace, and Balky's with his notepad again, crunching the numbers.
Does Larry make a profit?
He
Will
says,
he break
"Cousin,
even?
I figured it out. Daring to make a fortune only cost us $42
Oh, that's not bad.
a month
Okay, that's bad.
for the rest of our lives."
Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, it cost them a pretty penny.
What? They didn't buy the house? I guess
No,
not.
well, look, if he gave him $135,000, they'd still have to pay
$5,000. But that's
$5,000.
not
They would lose
$42,000
$5,000.
a month for the rest of their lives.
It sounds like it. I mean, it'll feel like it's the rest of your life.
So
right?
one of those two situations. They either lost $5,000 or they lost $140,000.
How much money did Larry lose on this?
Somebody who knows about real estate in the 90s, let us know what happened with this house realistically in this show. Then we hear our familiar lesson time music, and Larry apologizes for letting his greed hormones run wild again. And he realizes what we did, like in Act 1. I could have sold the house for a nice little profit.
You had an offer.
But no, it wasn't enough for Larry Appleton. I wanted more. And he says, well, I learned my lesson. And Balky says, oh, I doubt that.
Yes, we doubt it too. I don't think you have, Larry.
And Larry says, no, I did. And next week I'm taking another seminar called How to Profit from Your Mistakes.
Another seminar.
And a great setup for a final joke. Balky says, well, cousin, if there is a profit to be made from mistakes, you're going to be a rich man. And roll credits.
Wah, wah, wah. Good dig. Fun episode. Listener, before we get into our thoughts, check out our T Public shop. Visit danceofjoypod.com/shop for all your apparel and accessory needs and t-shirts and hoodies and coffee mugs, cell phone cases, things with our logo, all with the logo and the lovely blue background.
Yep.
A lot of fun stuff there. Check it out. Okay. Well, what do we think of this episode? We got some classic comedy physical bits. There was destruction. I was anticipating destruction and people getting hurt. Maybe there could have been a little more of the destruction. We've seen them. I mean, again, this is a man.
It didn't live up to the plumbing episode.
Who exactly tried to change a shower head and flooded a whole apartment.
Yeah.
Right. That was some nice destruction gone wrong.
Yeah. This one. I mean,
I thought there'd be more of that, but it was still good.
Nods to like classic buddy comedy tropes, like the ladder and possibly the chandelier itself. But yeah, you're right. Could have been like a little more over the top with the comedy.
I mean, they did have something crashing down to the floor that could have hurt someone.
Yeah,
that was big. But I could relate to all of the real estate stuff in the house flipping and the seminar and trying to get rich quick. And like you see that because when we were shopping for houses,
Larry.
I remember we would go to these houses that had been people were clearly just buying them and flipping them.
Yeah.
But when that's the case, you really have to look at the details because you go there and you look, and then when you look closely, you're like, wait, why doesn't this shelf line up with this wall? Why is this thing off? Like it's not a good job.
It was a rush job. Yeah.
It was an amateur flipper job.
Yeah. So, I mean, entertaining episode, some good lines, some good jokes, but some things left unanswered. Like we don't know what happened with the house. Or
presumably it was sold, and we did find out when we were like, "How do you get a house for free?" It's not really.
Or why that ladder was on wheels?
Yeah, why?
That makes no sense at all.
How did that chandelier hold them? Well, how did they pull themselves up?
They loosened it. It held them for a while, and
for
then
a long time, and then it just came down.
Yeah,
conveniently.
How did they finish hoisting the thing all the way up?
Yeah, how do you actually?
I didn't understand the mechanics of that.
Screw that thing into the ceiling. Like, that's tricky. But
or how did they even like do the subsequent hoists?
We got a good couple. We got a good. Oh my lord!
Yes. I enjoyed
this
episode. I enjoyed this more than last week's. I think
it was decent.
Yeah, it was good. All right, what did our listeners think? Cousin Nicole Stoner writes, I don't have much to say for this episode, but I did notice that Dimitri crawled behind the fridge like how Balki's Meposian microwave cookbook was found behind the fridge in Poetry in Motion. That's right. A lot of his stuff ends up behind the fridge.
It's weird.
That is weird.
It's a good thing.
Cousin John Adama with some great observations. He writes, I like that we have another episode where characters are actually remembering the past.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice to see them continue the longstanding tradition of an establishing shot that could not possibly match the set. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it kind of matched the inside.
That could have been the inside. I bought it.
And then he writes, the good old days when a house needing paint meant you didn't want to buy it.
I don't like this color.
This is an interesting observation. He said, lots of interesting and new camera angles for a sitcom. I'm sure part of that is to hide the stunt doubles.
So the close-up shots, look, they were lit a little bit differently than when you see them in the wide shot.
When they were in the chandelier, I don't think they're like hanging on a ceiling.
Like them. Those are stunt doubles.
No, we didn't see the bottom of the chandelier.
No, the close-up, they're not hanging. The close-up is that's different.
Yeah.
The wide shots where you see them hanging up there and you see the floor.
Yeah, well, stunt doubles are meant to look just like them. But their faces were blurry. Like
they were kind of, it's hard to make out, but it looked just like them.
Yeah.
But when they're talking to Jennifer and Marianne, like that close-up shot is definitely just on a set.
Yeah.
But then how do you get the audience to respond to that? I always wondered.
I don't know.
Well,
they figured it out. Cousin John, with more to say, writes, I'd argue that if this chandelier can support 2 adult men, then they really don't need professional help for remodeling, at least.
I mean, they got it in there pretty good, but then it did come down, so they missed something.
And his wrap up of this episode, another episode that is as funny as it is relevant. The plot isn't particularly creative, but they don't all have to be. It's like hearing a great cover of an old standard and do these boys sing? It's an unexpected A from me.
John really liked this episode. Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of good elements.
Yeah, it was nice. It was feel good, but I still am unclear about.
Well, that's just the suspension of belief in
how much money and like what happened with the house.
Their credit score has got to be abysmal. That's all. I can say.
They're only like 25 years old.
Yes, so they got like their credit score is 60 something.
And then we finally have cousin Whitney Smith who writes, "Here we are again having another one of Larry's get rich quick schemes, and it would have worked if he didn't become greedy and just had to have a chandelier in the house that got them stuck in midair." When the chandelier was falling, it reminded me of the plumbing episode when the leak happened.
Yep.
Yes, we talked about that. And love the fact that Balki's agitated with Dimitri because he keeps going behind the refrigerator. And with him continuously going behind the refrigerator, he gets dirty, causing him to get a spritz bath scrubbing, which I guess Dimitri doesn't like. And then she also notes that there's a blooper video when Marianne said the line, "It's so big," and Bronson Pinchot was so fascinated and being a little naughty by his line breaks. And talks in his regular voice. He wanted her to say it again. And one final thought from cousin Whitney Smith. The losing of the contact was kind of stupid. Maybe her losing an earring or something would have been a little more believable.
Contacts just pop out on their own.
Yeah, they do. There's always,
It's
I haven't
dry.
seen it. I haven't seen it in any modern sitcoms, but it used to be in the 90s. Like
everybody's gotten LASIK surgery now. Everybody's wearing contacts. Anyways, don't be ridiculous. Not said at all.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And a fantastic
but
Dimitri.
We did have a return.
Not only an appearance, an inclusion kind of into the story and the script.
And he was getting cleaned and sprayed. Yes.
Lovely.
Okay, now we're at the segment of our show called Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, in which we discuss, can we redo this story today? Would it hold up? What things would have to change? I mean, house flipping is a thing.
John said it. It is funny and relevant. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could do mostly the entire thing today. The numbers would change.
Real estate jargon is still confusing.
Yeah. The numbers are a little higher. Profit may be higher.
Numbers are higher.
There's a lot more technology in houses, so they could have some fun with trying to set up a smart home and it going bad, and
all the
Alexa
alarms.
going rogue,
Yes.
and like all that crazy, like it's all
Yeah, it could just be updated, but the story would still be the same. Yeah,
him getting greedy and because people that happens.
Not a lot of seminars anymore, but he would have seen like a webinar from Instagram or something. Some
there would
influencer,
be an online course, or
yeah.
Oh, these
An
10 steps to be rich, a real estate magnet. Oh, yeah, ebook. It's definitely. So, like, it's funny, but all that stuff, it's still happening.
That's
Everything that happens is still happening.
Yep.
You can easily do this today. High score for PS Today for this one, unlike last week.
That's this week's episode. Join us next week when the gang and friends go on a getaway to a cabin.
Why? Why would you go with Larry anywhere? They've been in a cabin. There was an avalanche. They almost died.
Maybe it was someone else's idea.
They've been in a cabin. It was on a resort island. They almost got swept away by a hurricane.
Find out. It's another one for the plan.
Why are you going anywhere with this man? He's going to get you killed. We'll find out what happens. Anyways, in the meantime, you can support the show in various ways. One of them is to buy us a virtual coffee. It's like a little virtual tip jar on our website, danceofjoypod.com. There's a little buy us a coffee button. All proceeds go right back into show maintenance costs and keeping it going. We thank you. Any support, any way you can help, always is appreciated.
Thank you. And if another way you can support us is to go check out our website, danceofjoypod.com, but don't stop there. From that website, you can visit us at any of our social media links. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find all the places where you can listen to the podcast, like, subscribe, leave us a rating, review. All that information is there on the website. And there's even a little button there. You can press it and leave us a voice message. Tell us about the last house you flipped. Or what ends up behind your refrigerator. We are dying to know. If you don't want to do that, you can write us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Yeah, actually what I learned during house inspections, the guy told me whenever you buy a house, the most important thing is to just look up. You look up in the closets, on the ceiling. People miss things. Also, water maintenance is very important. Keep water away from everything.
Yes.
But just look up.
That's really important. I'm a short person, so I often forget to look up. I have to remind myself all the time.
And that is an actual, real, not a joke thing. This is a real practical advice.
Look up is really good advice, but also very important is share this show with a friend. Tell your contractors, your house flippers, your real estate agents,
the underwriters,
your
the
Skitch
lawyer.
Hendersons.
Yes.
Tell everyone about Dance of Joy and about Perfect Strangers. We would appreciate word of mouth goes very, very far. And that's the best thing you could do for us. That's our show for today. Now we are so happy.
We do the dance of joy.
Hey.